The cryptocurrency universe has expanded to $100 billion. But you know what's cooler than $100 billion? $1 trillion. Who's talking about Bitcoin now? What's happening in the world of cryptocurrency? And if CNN isn't talking about it, then is it real news or is it fake news? Let's review some dank memes, go over the market today, and let's discuss. Hey everybody, I'm Gary Palmer Jr., you're you, and together, welcome to Minting Coins. Really excited to be here. This is another day in the cryptocurrency universe and another exciting day at that. You know, we were looking at the market just growing and growing and growing day after day, watching it approach that $100 billion mark. And today is the day. Earlier this morning, maybe around 1 or 2 a.m. East Coast time, we broke the $100 billion mark. Pretty amazing. Pop a bottle of champagne or grape juice or something of that nature. It's big. It's just a lot of money. It's getting a lot of attention. But as some people have pointed out, what's cooler than $100 billion would be $1 trillion. So it's sort of in light of what's to come. There's a lot happening, and this is just another milestone that's showing us the amount of energy, the amount of focus, the amount of interest that's going into Bitcoin and all the different tokens and blockchain technologies in this new digital peer-to-peer technology space. So the first thing I want to do real quick, just say thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. I really appreciate you sharing some of your time with me. Feel free to hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with your friends. I really appreciate you commenting below. I appreciate any sort of energy, checking out the show notes below. Donations are always appreciated, helping to keep this channel growing way, just huge for it to bring information to so many people in the world. But, without further ado, why don't we take a peek at the market, look at what's going on the crypto space, and let's discuss. So here we are at coinmarketcap.com reviewing where we are in this crypto space. Let's bring our attention over here. We have 745 different currencies floating around here, all these different blockchain technologies and different technologies that are operating and that are being listed for sale at through some exchange at coinmarketcap.com. We have our market cap showing right here over $100 billion, and it's just a lot of money. That's a lot of money in the space, especially when you look at where we were not that long ago. And Bitcoin alone was only $15 trillion, and the space overall was less than $50 billion. So it's just a lot of money that's entering very, very quickly. And you can see here the 24-hour trading volume over $4 billion alone. For the average investor and for the majority of everyone in the world, that's a lot of money. Still not enough when we're talking about investment bankers and traditional traders on the New York Stock Exchange and whatnot, but it's definitely approaching an area where they're starting to notice. And our Bitcoin dominance, 45%, 45.7% of this $101 billion is due to the Bitcoin dominance. So under 50% is attributed to just Bitcoin. Bitcoin is still ruling strong, but more than 50% of the way there is Ethereum. And as we talked about in yesterday's video about Russia's adoption of Bitcoin, Russia's adoption, readoption, repatriation of Vitalik Buterin, we know that the demand for Ethereum could increase. And so we can really see Ethereum give Bitcoin a run for its money. especially if we don't come to an immediate resolution with this whole scaling Bitcoin forking debate. So this is to be continued. Record highs everywhere, and with the Ethereum, you might be hearing in the news that we're in record highs for Ethereum, but I just want to point out that if you're monitoring the prices of these cryptocurrencies in your Blockfolio app or in whatever app that you're using to look at your portfolio, if you're measuring these in terms of Bitcoin, then Ethereum's not at an all-time high. Ethereum is 0.9 of the 0.09 Bitcoin, and so even though we're seeing all-time highs in terms of dollars because we're seeing all this money enter the market, as the price of Bitcoin is increasing, people are taking that Bitcoin profits and it's going into Ethereum, but not at the rate of which people dealing in dollars really understand. Because if you're dealing in dollars, Ethereum looks like it's at an all-time high. But again, if you're looking at in terms of Bitcoin, Ethereum is not at an all-time high. We were at an all-time high last week. We exceeded Ethereum, was over 0.1 Bitcoin. So it was less than 10 Ethereum would equal 1 Bitcoin. The point of all this is just when you're hearing about these all-time highs for all these other currencies that are not Bitcoin, just make sure you're recognizing what the prices are of Ethereum and all the other coins in relationship to that Bitcoin price. Wow, so that escalated quickly. As we were just reviewing, it's just so much money that's entering the cryptocurrency space, and it's making so many people buzz about and howl at the moon and just wondering what's going on. Going from $2,100 to $2,900 here in the past day or so for Bitcoin is just a lot. And for folks that are feeling that this escalated pretty quickly, just imagine how quickly this could escalate if and when we find major banks and countries start pouring money into the Bitcoin space. Because $100 billion is a lot, and it's cool, as John points out in this tweet here, but what's cooler is $1 trillion. So I just wanted to, let's see what I have here. I just wanted to pull up the calculator real quick. If Bitcoin was $1 trillion, let's see here. Where are we? I want to make sure this makes sense. Let's go over here. So if Bitcoin is $1 trillion, we have 100,000 million, billion, trillion. And if we divide this $1 trillion by, there's about 16.3 million Bitcoins, let's round that up to 17 million. Divided by 17 million, we have a per Bitcoin price of 58,823, 824 rounded up. So if Bitcoin alone was $1 trillion, then we would expect to see a per Bitcoin of about $58,000. So yeah, I think $1 billion is cool, and I think $1 trillion is cooler. And so with the Ethereum going up in value to all-time highs in terms of US dollars, and also in terms of Bitcoin, in terms of the month overall, it is at all-time highs. We see that the profitability of Ethereum mining is at a point where a lot of people are interested in mining Ethereum. There's probably a lot of individuals, there's probably a lot of small businesses or starting businesses, and there's probably a lot of existing players in the mining space. And on top of that, there's loads and loads of new companies from all these different conferences learning about Bitcoin, blockchain technology, Ethereum, major companies, banks, as we have become aware of, are mining Bitcoin. And in this case, with the potential of Ethereum, they're also mining Ethereum. A mining rig for Ethereum can be used to mine other coins as well. So you can really use that technology and get profit long term in case the prices do fluctuate. There's a website called whattomine.com, and whattomine.com will show you, if you have a mining rig, these are all the different coins that you can mine with that mining rig, and it'll show you on a different time basis which coin is most profitable to be mining at any given point. So the point of me showing you this video here is just to say that Ethereum miners are gobbling up every powerful graphics card as soon as it hits the market in order to generate the second biggest cryptocurrency, to mine the second biggest cryptocurrency. And as a result, it's now impossible for gamers and ordinary PC users to get their hands on any sort of 1080p capable AMD Radeon graphics card. And all of this is according to a report by PC World. And so if everyone is investing time, money, effort, all sorts of resources doing research and setting up an implementation, not to mention the electrical costs of running this sort of system 24 hours a day, it's a lot of investment. And that investment, that commitment, that time, energy, infrastructure is going to be supporting Ethereum and the Ethereum cryptocurrency. It's going to be supporting the base, the foundation of this technology. Each of these Ethereum miners are going to be adding on to the security and adding on to the infrastructure and to the network, just allowing Ethereum to become stronger for the purposes of these miners to receive Ethereum for, in exchange of the work that they're doing now. This is just supporting the price of Ethereum, this additional value that's going in. And so when you see things like this, if you're a traditional investor, then maybe you'd want to invest into the Radeon graphics card company because you know that their profits are going to be going up. But also if you realize that all of these miners are going to be investing into Ethereum, then that could have an indication from where the market overall is predicting that the price is going to go from here, right? So from here we're at $250, or what were we looking at a second ago? Around $263 for a single Ether. And so yeah, so I would presume that these miners are predicting the price is just going to go even higher from here. And so brace yourself. The second wave of millionaires are coming. I wish I was a part of the second wave of millionaires, but I have not enough Bitcoin to be taking advantage of that in the short term. I guess that's one of the reasons I'm long-term buy and hold, is really just hoping that long-term a single Bitcoin meets the expectations of the market, right? But with that being said, there's lots of people that were able to buy lots of Bitcoin when it was just a few $100s after that first crash over the courses of 2013, 2014, 2015, even into 2016 when Bitcoin was only what, $300 give or take, $400 give or take. So looking at the price of Bitcoin now, it's just amazing. I remember people thought Bitcoin was too expensive at $800. They thought it was too expensive at $1,000 way back 6 months ago. And then they thought it was too expensive at $1,500 and then $2,000. And where does it go from here? I mean, everyone thinks that Bitcoin is expensive at $3,000. And if we rise to 10,000 and crash back down to 5,000, then where does it all end? In a world where there's a limited amount of Bitcoin, where there's a limited amount of this cryptocurrency, yet the demand is just increasing to such an extreme rate. Again, think about the internet. Nobody had email. Nobody had a website. People didn't believe that anyone was going to be shopping for shoes online or clothing online because you weren't going to be able to touch it or try it on and have to deal with the hassle of returning it. Yet here we are where everyone is just insta clicking Amazon and just buying things without really, giving a thought or a care because the internet is so big and so simple. Could you imagine if you purchased, if you owned 1/1,000,000th or even 1/1,000,000th of the entire internet in terms of everything that's capable? Long term, what is the blockchain technology? What is the new internet of Ethereum going to look like 10 years from now, 15 years from now? A lot of people are focused on 2020. Maybe we should start philosophizing about 2030 and think about the true implications when we're able to look at the existing internet or the industrial revolution from 100 years ago to see how quickly this could really progress and how quickly the adoption can take hold. So this meme is talking about the second wave of millionaires coming. Probably that winter is coming, but lots of different ways to take that statement. But there's going to be a third and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth and so on. There's going to be several additional waves of millionaires coming from this cryptocurrency space. If we hit $1 trillion total market cap, you know, we're going to be seeing stories and memes like this for years to come. So speaking of successful people who invested early, who were naysayers of the system, who bucked the system, who bet against the system, we have Mark Cuban, who has just subscribed to Inside Bitcoin. And apparently, I'm not sure if this is like an auto-generated tweet where Inside.com created this tweet for him, and he didn't exactly craft this, I'm not sure. But according to his tweet, he's saying that he subscribed to Inside Bitcoin, and you should too. So I looked into this a little bit more, and you know, you have this article right here that someone posted from, I think, 2014, where billionaire entrepreneur Mark Cuban said that Bitcoin has no shot as a long-term digital currency. And looking up into today's news, he's standing by this. He even though he subscribed to Inside Bitcoin, and he's saying that we should subscribe to Inside Bitcoin, he is also following up saying that he only owns $20 in Bitcoin. Sorry, Mark, I don't believe you. And he's saying that he still doesn't think that Bitcoin is going to become a major digital currency, or what does it say down here? A long-term digital currency. You know, we could potentially agree to disagree, but if Mark Cuban is taking the time and the energy to look into Bitcoin and to tell people about Bitcoin, then typically, you know, these business folk don't make these sort of public announcements without securing their positions first. And so I think it's silly just to take it at face value that he owns, you know, only $20 in Bitcoin. And I think that with all of the excitement, with all the business leaders and all the traditional investors starting to look at the digital currency space, I think it's really interesting that Mark Cuban is shedding light on Bitcoin, and he's creating this discussion about Bitcoin. And you know, I mean, if he doesn't own any Bitcoin, with the amount of fiat that he has, he could definitely jump in anytime pretty quickly. And so it'll be really interesting to see not only what Mark Cuban says moving forward, but also to see what companies Mark Cuban is going to be investing in moving forward as well. To the moon. And so before we had YouTube videos teaching people how to use Photoshop, we had TV shows teaching people how to paint. And so here's a famous guy. What's this guy's name? Painting the Bitcoin price chart to the moon. But it's not just about the old school and the old way of doing things. It's also about the new school and the new way. You know, I think about the kids and, you know, who are being born in today's day, and, you know, 16 years from now, they may be eligible to get their very own savings account, and they can take all their hard-earned money and store it with a bank where it can suffer with whatever the, you know, inflation rate is at the time. But will that be really the case, or will, you know, the kids just each have their own Bitcoin wallet, and will we have scaling solved? And think about, you know, the kids of today, you know, instead of just growing up with Pokemon and Minecraft and, you know, Roadblocks and all these crazy, you know, games and whatnot, they're also growing up with Bitcoin and blockchain technology. And they're learning about blockchain technology and Bitcoin and all these tokens the way that they learn about Instagram and MySpace and Snapchat. I mean, this generation that we're looking at right here, this is going to be the generation that's going to grow up with this technology and just grow through this technology. And it's going to be amazing to see what the technology is that they develop 30 years from now. You know, not just in 2020, 2030, but 2040 even. Let's see the technology that they start developing in 2040. Can you imagine? So here's Conan. In the year 2000, I was still evaluating my wealth in dollars. And so I want to ask you, are you still evaluating your wealth in dollars? Is Mark Cuban still evaluating his wealth in dollars? Does Mark Cuban really have, billions of dollars? Or if and when is he going to shift that and think, oh, he owns, thousands of Bitcoin? Or, in 20 years from now, is someone going to say, yeah, I have a $500,000 in my retirement account? Or are they going to say, yeah, I have a half a Bitcoin, I have a whole half a Bitcoin in my retirement account? How are we measuring our wealth? I mean, I've already shifted to think about that for myself. When I think about my income, or when I think about investments, or when I think about milk at the grocery store, I think about how much is this in Bitcoin? Because as I was trying to mention with the Ethereum earlier, we're seeing the price of Ethereum change in terms of dollars. It's at this high point of $263, but again, it's not at a high point in terms of its value compared to Bitcoin. So I think it's really important, as fiat currency becomes more unstable, primarily due to the inflation of the value of that money having less buying power. You have all these different fiats all over the world from all these different countries. To make things easy, I'm just predicting that all of these different countries are going to have a single unit of measurement, a single unit of value that none of them will really own, that none of them have to worry about trusting each other about manipulation. And countries and banks and these institutions will be using the Bitcoin to judge the true value of Ethereum, or to judge the true value of a piece of property, or to judge the true value of a carton of milk. And as we're seeing, as they're going to see, the price of Bitcoin is going so high, as this meme Fry's pointing out over here, that he's going to have to start selling his Bitcoin so he can buy more Bitcoin. It's funny to me. If it's funny to you, it's because it doesn't make any sense, right? You want to sell your Bitcoin so you can buy more Bitcoin. Don't sell your Bitcoin. We have all these ICOs, we have all these new coins, we have all these different opportunities to invest and things to get into. If you were going to do something like that, like say you're going to, put 1 Ether into some ICO, that you were able to get yourself into, instead of just losing that 1 Ether, replenish that 1 Ether, go to Coinbase and actually purchase that Ether that you spent, so you're not losing, that portfolio. Because if that Ether continues to increase in value, and the tokens that you bought in exchange for it doesn't increase to the same proportion, because when you buy that token, you want it to increase in value faster than Bitcoin, right? But if it doesn't, if that company fails, when you buy their token, you might own a piece of that token, but that piece of that token's value is determined by if a company develops this product. And if a company doesn't develop that product, then your token is just, it doesn't mean anything. And so when you're buying these tokens that are representing companies, you're buying into that company. When you're buying Bitcoin, nobody owns Bitcoin. Nobody's running Bitcoin. Bitcoin is its own market. And so when you buy a Bitcoin, you're buying something that isn't dependent on anybody else in the world, because it's open source. And so just be really careful when you have your Bitcoin and when you're selling your Bitcoin for anything, because if you trade it for dollars, or if you trade it for anything, the Bitcoin is its own market, and if you jump off that train can go to the moon without you. And so I'm just asking that you just, be cautious about being parted with your Bitcoin or your Ethereum. And so we have CNBC again today. Today's the 6th, right? Yeah. And so CNBC again, I mean, at this point, CNBC might as well be Cointelegraph or Bitcoinist or Coindesk.com. CNBC is talking about Bitcoin all the time to their viewers. Before it was exciting because CNBC was sort of mainstream media, but what we're seeing is that they're just talking about it, reporting it, really letting people know what's happening and what's going on. This isn't the NBC Nightly News, and it's not the Today Show, but this is still, a really major publication for information and news and business and finance talking about Bitcoin again. Surges 8%, near $3,000. It's not $3,000, but because of the sensationalism, they want to say near $3,000, having the big three followed by those 3 zeros. And looks really good for those headlines, that clickbait, getting people to click and learn more about, this thing they heard about, which, they're so unsure because of all the FUD being spread out there. But again, this isn't today's show. This isn't CNN. This isn't NBC. And I was over here clicking around Reddit. Reddit is great. It's the best of people. It's the worst of people. It's Reddit. Make an account. Go check out Reddit. And so someone was posting here the fact that Bitcoin is completely ignored by CNN indicates that we are not even close to bubble territory yet. So they're just, I guess they're sort of indicating that if Bitcoin was a bubble, then CNN would be talking about it to, bring negative attention to Bitcoin. And if we were close to adoption from the government, then CNN would be talking about it to get people's attention, so then to buy into it, to support the positions that the governments would have already bought into in that lower position. Because if you buy low and then you make a big announcement, you tell everybody, hey, check this out, then all that additional money that follows is going to support all the units that are already existing in the market. So again, if you would have bought your Bitcoin or your Ethereum in December, when Bitcoin was around $900, Ethereum was around $8 or $9, then you would have been lifted by all this additional big money that's been coming into the market with all these different conferences and with all this different news that's been coming out, with all these major developments. And so that's why a lot of people are recommending that you buy and hold, that you buy consistently, that you have a strong position, that you have a strong hand, that you have a long position, because with the institutions and the governments that are just paving the way for this blockchain technology, there's a lot happening. There's a lot of excitement, and I'm really excited to be part of this with you. We hit this $100 billion mark, and what's the next point? It's at $200 billion, a $250 billion, and at what point in this market cap will it be that the sleeping giant of the human consciousness, the masses of the human race wake up and break their routine and start to look around and go, what is this Bitcoin? What is this blockchain technology? Because it took a long time for them to get on board with the internet. But when it happened quick, it happened fast. There was the major .com bubble, created a lot of financial destruction and devastation, especially for people focused around the Silicon Valley area, high technology area. But what happened after that bubble burst? The companies that had their act together, that had strong teams and strong businesses, excelled. The technology, maybe the adoption slowed down of Ethernets and optic wires, but the technology wasn't destroyed, it only accelerated. And so here we are now, with all this news, with all this excitement, with all these people talking about the Bitcoin and blockchain technology, and most importantly, all of us together. Because there might be major people talking about Bitcoin, there might be major leaders, business people that we all respect talking about Bitcoin, but this isn't about the major leaders, and this isn't about the major institutions. This is about me and you. This is about your family, your friends, your community, all of our family and friends, our communities coming together, and all of us having an equal voice. Mark Cuban's voice isn't any more than your voice. He makes mistakes, you make mistakes, I make mistakes. I do things wrong all the time. It's like sometimes I win and sometimes I don't win. But when I'm most successful is when I'm working with other people, when I'm communicating with other people, when other people are coming together for a common good or a common purpose, and information is being shared, and then we can get that information to spread through other people, we can really make a difference. We can really make a movement. We can really have huge effects on the future before us, for our future and our children's future. And that's why I'm really excited to be here with you and to be sharing this information. So with that being said, thanks for sticking around. Thanks for checking out our Dank memes and the market, and taking a look at some of this exciting news going on. Share your comments below. Let me know what you think about the future of cryptocurrency and where you think we're going from here. And then we'll talk more there. I'll say hello. Hit that like button, subscribe, share this video, check out the show notes, and until next time, I'm glad we're minting coins.